if you've got a castle, all right, that you want to sell, what do you swap that for? Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me in this episode 4 of What is Money, featuring our good friend here, the Paper Favors book. I'm clearly, not a born marketer. I still find it quite odd doing this, but it's there. This is where all this kind of content is really distilled into words, So anyway, we've looked before at offering prices, relative prices, and wealth storage as the 3 initial problems with bartering. And today we're gonna come full circle or full square, and really look at the 4th one, which is of course sensible prices. Okay, so this one is a bit of an extension of relative prices, which was, you remember before, if you had say a hammer, and a hammer was worth 1.5 kilos of grain and a door was worth 10 kilos, well, you've either got to give them 6 hammers, so that'd be 9 kilos worth of grain, or 7 hammers, which would be 10.5, because there's no point giving someone half a hammer or 3/5 of a hammer. It just doesn't work, right? And that's where money came in and solved that. So what then are sensible prices? Well, as I said before, it's a bit similar, but it works more at scale. So there's 2 key examples that I go into here, and I'll probably come up with some on the spot. But let's look at big purchases. Okay, so and this is why it's easy to use money to show this, but imagine we don't have any money. Remember, we're still in the bartering stage. So if you've got a castle, all right, that you want to sell, what do you swap that for? So, a castle could be worth 15 gold chairs and a lifetime supply of chicken, right? I don't know, maybe that's how it worked out, or something like that, right? But now we've got 2 things. So that might be true for you, but not for me, and then we've got all that other stuff. So let's get past that and let's bring in some sort of money. Okay, so let's say the castle's worth 10 million pounds, okay, and a golden throne is worth 1 million pounds. So is a castle worth 10 gold thrones? Yes, it is, right? We've just done it. Okay, but to that single person, it's not, right? Because the chances are that you're going to get a lot more utility from the entire value of a castle than just having 10 what are essentially glorified chairs, right? Maybe you'd want 1 throne for yourself, maybe 1 for you and your your wife or your partner or whoever, but probably you don't need 10 golden thrones. All right, you probably want a lot of other stuff. Okay, so what are we going to do? Because the problem is you still need to find 1 person at the time that's willing to trade you that, remember, because that's the problem, right? Unless you can find a single buyer who has all the stuff you want, you can't do it. You literally can't. There's no way to do it. If you flip it another way, let's say that that castle was actually worth an entire lifetime supply of your favorite food, right? Whatever it is, could be literally caviar every day. I don't know, lobster, expensive food. Insert here, right? But remember, if they gave you that all in one go, it wouldn't last, right? After like 5-6 days, it'd all go off. It's completely useless to you. So again, we needed something that meant people could sell big assets, and have a way to kind of use the value that they'd given away over time to get things they want. Because remember as well, there's a 3rd problem, which is you might want to sell the castle, but I guarantee you probably wouldn't yeah, you wouldn't necessarily want all the things that that castle's value could get you over the course of your life, right? And this is why I'm going back to the thrones, because helpfully that split it into 10, right? Okay, so you sell the castle, and you get your 10 thrones. They're worth £1,000,000 each, right? Or the equivalent without money. So then, okay, you could keep storing your 10 thrones, and then every time you actually want to buy something, you sell one of the thrones, right? And then you break that down, right? A bit like how if you remember when you were a kid, if you got like a £5 pocket money, or no, not like that actually. Sorry, people say, "Oh, break a tenner to get the change," right? You'd have to start, breaking it down, right? So then you sell the chair for some stuff, maybe 10 cars worth £100,000. Okay, great. Now you've got 9 thrones and 10 cars. Okay, great. And you sell the car for 10 grand, right? You keep splitting it down. Eventually, you get to a very low denomination that you could then use, and then you would do it. But what I'm saying is, all we've done there is we've just basically made money, right? And that's why we did it, because it just solves so many problems, and it gives you the power to fundamentally store value. And kind of the reason I've gone over this so much more is because I've watched loads of videos on this, as you can imagine. I read loads of stuff. I've never really seen anyone put a real proper deep argument forward of why being able to store value is so important, right? We looked at specifically wealth storage earlier, and when I said that, I meant that in the way of it doesn't erode. We said grain could wash away, so when we replace it with metal, the metals don't react, hopefully, and they're very durable. But this is more about being able to specifically store value for later use, right? As in not being forced to use it at the moment of trade, okay? Because the only way you could do what I just said with the castle, right? You've got this amazing asset, you've got a whole castle, and you want to sell it, but in order to just pay for for the next meal, you would have to, you can't give them some of the bricks. Do you know what I mean? You can't split a castle. That's what I was trying to get at. So you'd have to keep bouncing into smaller and smaller assets, which you actually don't want, but you've just got them to trade until you finally break them down. Or you could just lose loads of money, right? So that's the other side, right? You could sell the castle for the 9 thrones, and then maybe the only person who's got a meal that you want, oh well, damn it, okay, here's a throne, and you've just given away 10% of the value you had in your castle, just for the next meal. And it's a real problem, and obviously that's not a fair trade, but it would be a forced trade on the person with the castle just because there was no one else they could trade with. Do you see what I mean? It's like, it takes away from the core principles of what you're trying to do with an economy, which would be, if back to what we said right at the beginning, the perfect trade would be a trade such that 2 people, let's say you and I, you give away something that you do not value, or you give away something that you value very low in return for something from me that I don't value very much, but it's extremely valuable to you, and the thing you're giving me is extremely valuable to me. That'd be perfect. And when I think what we're actually doing when we trade with people is that's what we're doing, right? We're trying to, it's the minimax function, right? I think, no, it's not. It's the opposite of minimax. I suppose it'd be like max, right? So you're trying to maximize the value you get, for sure. But it'd be even better, and it's more likely that I'll get value for me at a maximum kind of trade-off if the thing I'm giving to you is super valuable to you. All right. Now, that obviously can't always happen, right? Sometimes you have to trade things you don't want, and that could be just your time, going to work, 8 hours a day or 12, however many hours a day you work, you're giving up your time. And that's quite a big trade there, right? In return, you get the money to do the things you want. But the perfect scenario would be you don't give away anything and you get the money, right? And then on the other side, it would be that the other side of the trade. So your employer gets the actions that you were going to do, they just happen by magic. You know, maybe AI will do that one day, and they don't have to give you anything. So you kind of end up meeting in the middle where you do the stuff for the employer, and they give you the money, and that's kind of how it goes. And that's the negotiation. And of course, because we've all got imperfect information, you know, that trade sometimes goes really far one way the other. You know, and it's one of the biggest problems we've got today in society, right? It's trying to work out where, you know, is it fair that people get this much? I don't know. But that's for later videos. For now, though, what I want to leave you with is take the time to really look at how much, you know, money really helped us to do all these things, right? How it changed society. Because without it, it would force you and pretty much anybody else to trade directly via bartering, which unfortunately is, as we've just looked at, right? It's super inefficient in terms of allowing people to fairly or reasonably trade their assets and their services. So yeah, if you enjoyed that, if that was, I mean, maybe that wasn't even that deep. I mean, it could have been a deep conversation. I felt like it was, but no, maybe not. Either way, let me know in the comments. Can you think of any examples, you know, that kind of relate to this? And also, I'd be interested, when I got down to the, remember I said split the expensive cars for, I think I said £10,000 each cheaper cars. What did you break it down to in your head after that? I'd be interested to see how that, you know, that like tree that we built. I'd like to see that. If you're interested in the book, the links are in below. But above all else, have a great day. And if you did have a good time, leave a like. Thank you.